Hello, welcome to this mystical moment, the full moon in Gemini, arriving at the bending of the nodes of fate. It's a rare crossroads, a karmic inflection point, a place where truth is revealed and our choices crystallize. Tonight, the moon stands full in Gemini. It's illuminated by the Sagittarian sun and caught in a grand cross with the north and south nodes. It's a moment of cosmic judgment, not punishment in that sense, but revelation. It's a turning point in a story that began with the new moon in Gemini in June 2024, in that long cycle, and a culmination of the seeds planted at the new moon in Scorpio on November 20th, 2025. So this full moon is forming a symbolic courtroom where destiny and free will meet face to face. So let's step inside. Hello, welcome back to Soul Symbols, Astrology and Tarot, where we explore the deeper currents of the cosmos and how we are offered tools for inner alchemy and our soul's journey, where the universe speaks in symbols and the soul listeners. So let's have a look at the sky, see what's going on. This full moon in Gemini sits at the bending of the nodes, crossroads where the karmic axis is being tested. The moon in Gemini brings questions, information, curiosity, duality and choices. And the sun in Sagittarius brings truth, perspective, the search for meaning, the higher mind. And together they're forming this grand cross with the north node in Pisces and the south node in Virgo. The cross of mutable energy, a cross of thresholds, and a cross of completion. A moon is in Gemini being illumined in its fullness by the sun in Sagittarius. They're both mutable or double-bodied signs. Gemini leading to the peak of light, the transition of spring to summer, and that gradual decline of light. And Sagittarius leading to the winter solstice and the peak of darkness, the transition of autumn to winter, and then the gradual return of light. Moon in Gemini, again, leading up to the summer solstice, the peak of light, the transition of spring to summer, is the pure archetype, the archetype of youth. But it's also that symbol of the twins, Castor and Pollux, known for duality, communication, adaptability, and the balance between different aspects of personality. The mythological connection there is the constellation of Gemini, where they were put and could be together eternally, alternating between the heavens and the underworld, and their roles as protectors and communicators. And the moon rules over the body, fortune, life, marriage, our town, city, possessions, expenses, the mother. Of course, she's being illumined by that sun in Sagittarius. So it's that wise old sage energy, but also the symbol of the centaur. And that is a powerful symbol of duality, a struggle between civility and wildness, the tension between our rational and instinctual aspects of our natures, and reflecting the complexities of identity and behaviour. So it's that tension between wild, free spirit, the untamed nature, and our aspiration towards harmony and structure. It's a potent symbol of our struggles with chaos and order, between untamed urges and higher mindedness. And the sun is said to rule over intelligence, beauty, motion, action, reputation, kings and rulers, the ordinance of the gods and the Father. It's life force, breath, spirit. Then we have Jupiter ruling Sagittarius where the sun is, and also Pisces where the North Node is. And then Mercury is ruling the full moon in Gemini and also rules the South Node in Virgo. The signs of the Grand Cross contain every element: the earth of Virgo, the water of Pisces, the air of Gemini, and the fire of Sagittarius. This Grand Cross is offering a beautiful, spectacular opportunity for deep alchemical work, for soul work. It is a cross of mutable energy, a cross of thresholds, and that cross of completion. And the completion in particular is reflected in the tarot. It is a second decan that the sun, moon, and the nodes occupy. So for Gemini, where the moon is, we have the Nine of Swords. The sun in opposition, we have the Nine of Wands. The North Node in Pisces, we have the Nine of Cups. And the South Node in Virgo, we have the Nine of Pentacles. So the nines in the tarot are liminal cards, the moment before completion. They're representing pressure, perseverance, fulfillment, and refinement. So that Grand Cross is saying you're at the precipice. We're all at a precipice of change. You cannot stay where you are. We cannot remain where we are. That is the message of the nines. And there's another layer to this. Mercury is triggering the final Grand Water Trine. Mercury began the activation of this Grand Water Trine in late October 2025. So that's that trine with Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces, and various planets that Scorpio's hosted over this time in Scorpio. We've also got that North Node in Pisces. So this trine has been the emotional undercurrent for months, a subtle, persistent pull towards healing and intuition, a pull down. Scorpio is the depths, a pull down to the energy that resides there. This full moon is its final activation, with Mercury activating this grand trine. So Jupiter in Cancer may open our emotional floodgates and hopefully our intuition. Mercury, the ruler of Gemini and Virgo, is gathering the facts, the words, the stories. The North Node in Pisces there with Saturn is channeling the spiritual truth behind it, but also Saturn is providing a brand new, he's been beavering away, put it in the discipline, the structure, and building a new foundation. This trine is asking us, what is the emotional truth behind all the mental noise? To understand the deeper symbology happening here, we can have a look at the tarot, the significations of the tarot. Gemini is the lovers. This is a card of duality, of choice, and of that sacred union of opposites. That's the deeper level of the meaning of the card. Mercury is the magician with the power of intention, communication. He's like a solicitor gathering all the evidence. He has all the tools, all the elements on his table to play with. And he knows the Hermetic principle of as above, so below. He has the tools and the knowledge and the curiosity to work there. And Sagittarius is the Temperance card, which for me is the alchemy card of the deck. Temperance is blending and integration. Then we have Jupiter, who rules Sagittarius, the wheel of fortune. This is karma, timing, the turning of fate, the fates of increase, decrease, good karma, bad karma, if there's such a thing, but that sense of the karmic wheel turning. So together they're all telling that story of choice, balance, and destiny. a return to alignment with your inner truth, with your soul's truth. And the analogy of the Cosmic Courtroom that I spoke about in the introduction, it's like the picture I had is a courtroom of fate. And as the symbolic heart of this full moon. So Mercury, as the magician, the solicitor, he gathers every detail of our past year, and particularly since October. Every conversation, every misunderstanding, every fact, every story we've told ourselves, true or false. And Mercury is laying it all out on his table and asking, what narrative have you been living? And does it still serve you? And we can have Jupiter as the judge, who sees the big picture, the wheel of fortune. So he's sat elevated across the room, the judge weighing the information. Jupiter isn't judging in a moral sense. Jupiter judges by the truth, meaning an alignment to cosmic universal laws, the spiritual laws. He looks at the facts Mercury's presenting and asking, what's the big picture? What is ripe? What is complete? What must now turn with that wheel? And maybe we could look at the node as the jury, the cosmic jury. They are the nodes of fate. The South Node and the North Node, Virgo and Pisces, holding our karmic patterns, our perfectionism, burdens of self-judgment, self-criticism. But the nodes are also holding that spiritual calling, that path forward, the intuition, forgiveness, compassion, soul path. This full moon illuminates both of those, all of those, revealing what must be released and what must be claimed, what we need to harvest. We are looking at the heart of this full moon, the symbolism of that alchemical marriage, the sacred union of opposites, Gemini and Sagittarius, the sun and the moon there, Pisces and Virgo with the nodes of fate, the masculine and feminine, logic and intuition, mind and spirit, fortune and fate. Each polarity isn't seeking dominance, but that partnership. This alchemy, the Temperance card, is the great work of this moment. This point is not random. It's the flowering of past choices. From that new moon in Gemini, the long cycle in June 2024, we initiated a cycle of thought, of communication and intention. And from the new moon in Scorpio a few weeks ago on November the 20th, we initiated a cycle of shadow work and emotional truth, of depth. And we either done that consciously or unconsciously. Tonight, under the full moon, the karma of the seeds we've planted have become visible. The fruit is on the branch. We will see what has grown and what we need to prune or burn away. And we have all four elements at play that lay on the magician's table that are in that grand cross in the sky. We've got Gemini, the air. We've got Sagittarius, the fire. Pisces, the water. Virgo, the earth. And we've got all four sacred directions. Air is east, Gemini. Fire is south, Sagittarius. Water is west, Pisces. And earth is north, Virgo. And the signs are also marking the turning points of the year. Gemini and Sagittarius hold the summer and winter solstices, and Pisces and Virgo hold the spring and autumn equinoxes. These come as the sun moves into the following signs immediately. This full moon carries the energy of crossing thresholds, moving between seasons of our lives. So what does that mean for you and for me? There's some invitations or journal prompts, things to reflect on under this full moon. Review the evidence. What story are you telling yourself? And is that true? Seek the bigger picture. What truth is Jupiter showing you? Are you lost in the small details, or are you seeing that bigger picture? Let go with the nodes, the south and north nodes. Let go of perfectionism, overthinking, self-criticism, emotional clutter. Trust intuition, embrace imagination, say yes to aligning spiritually with the truth. Practice your own alchemical marriage. Balance thought with feeling, logic with faith, the masculine and the feminine. Harvest your fruit. What intention from the past now reaches completion? What has completed? The verdict has been delivered. The wheel is turning, and the path ahead has been illuminated by the light of this full moon. May you walk forward with clarity, courage, and wholeness. Blessings on your path. Happy full moon. If the video has resonated with you, feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. And if you'd like personal guidance, you can book a reading with me. We do it via Zoom at www.soulsymbols.co.uk. I am now going to have a look at the signs, all 12 signs. And at the end of looking at where this Grand Cross is laying and the themes and topics that they indicate in your chart, I will pull you Alchemy card. And what I intend to do is do a reading for each of the signs during this week with that Alchemy card as a signifier card. We've got 2 weeks to work with this until we get to the dark moon. We've got 2 weeks to prune, burn, compost, harvest, and reflect. So it's a place to start. Timestamps for all 12 signs are in the description box below. Hello, Aries. Well, you have this full moon in your 3rd house with the sun in your 9th and the nodes, the north node in your 12th house and the south in your 6th. And I'm going to take a bit of a timely guess, Aries, and say that you may have been feeling very stuck, frustrated for a few months because of the feminine expression of the ruler of your sign, which is Mars up there in the 9th house, is the host to all these planets that have been going through Scorpio. Your sign, your expression of Mars is very masculine, very outward, very initiatory, initiating action, sports, maybe martial arts. It's the purest form of Mars there, competitiveness. But this moon here in your 3rd house, and this is about your mind, about communication, about what brings you joy almost mentally. And that can be through your expression to your neighbours, siblings in your local community. It is also the 3rd house, the joy of the moon. So the moon is extremely happy here. Yeah, very happy here for you. But the moon is about the everyday. It's about the flux and flow of your fortune, of your everyday. So your drive to work, your chat with the neighbours, the way you communicate with your neighbours and siblings. So the moon is very strong here, and there's an illumination around those themes. But you have your ruler up there in your 9th house, which is the big picture. It's where it's ruled by Sagittarius. It's about your beliefs, your philosophies, the 9th house. It is the house of God, the joy of the sun. So very strong sun there. And, Mars is under what's called under the beam. So a sense of not being able to exert yourself there again. So this fruit has come from your 8th house, and the 8th house is that you know, that new moon in Scorpio. It is about karmic debts and normal debts, you know, financial debts, other people's money. But I'm looking at the karmic here because this Grand Water Trine is happening for you in your 4th, in your 8th, and in your 12th. And they're the houses of what's called moksha. It's spiritual liberation. So this frustration you're feeling could be that you want to move forward, you want to push out with your projects, your work, your activities, everything that you want to do. There's a quote here. I love this. A quote from T.S. Eliot. I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. So I get that sense. But there's also a sense of persistence. Now, you have your Mars at the moment applying to a square with Saturn, okay? This can give you this focused and focus and discipline. Saturn is discipline. And deliberate and determined outputs of energy. Okay, so you've got this going on, but it is in that house of Pisces, which is it's oceanic, it's compassion. Again, it's feminine, receptive. And the nodes of fate are sitting there in your 12th and 6th. The 12th house is the house of the hidden. It is the house of bad spirit, bad daimon. And the 6th house is the house of bad fortune in a sense. But it is the joy of Mars, your planet. So what we're having here is the house of hard work here in the 6. It could be that sense that you've been working hard, you've been trying to push through, you've been frustrated. But Scorpio, the other place that your ruling planet rules, is that receptive depth. So something has been going on here, and in this Grand Trine where the ease and flow is, we have had Saturn making this foundation. He's been here beforehand for, by the time he comes out, it'd be the equivalent of 2.5 years working through here in your 12th house. It can be the house of self-sabotage. So you could find out, or you could have been, Saturn could have been building the foundations of having this sense of illumined consciousness, the ability to see the areas where you may self-sabotage. This is your north node, so it's increase. So in this house of hiddenness, I would say the nodes of fate are helping you to see your unconscious, what is hidden, particularly since October with this Grand Trine in your moksha houses. There's a sense of something arising there. And with this hard work, the house of hard work can be sickness, employers, employees, but maybe you have been working hard. You have been working, I was going to say something rude there. You've been working your butt off, okay? And you've not seen much forward motion, which is why I keep saying there's a sense, the energetic here for me is a sense of come on, energy, get moving. You've also had Mercury in retrograde in that 8th house, going over that karmic debt. But whatever this is, we have this square coming up with your Mars to Saturn here, which is really important at this new moon, full moon. So once the illumination comes of where you're stuck, it may be a mental thing. It may be irritation, agitation with people around you. It could be blockages within your environment, within your relationships, okay, with your siblings and your neighbours. But with this square coming up, Mars is, your planet is applying here. And it is in a superior square, okay? And squares are the nature of Mars. So it could be that you have learned or you are learning focused and disciplined action, okay? And the ability to channel your energy into the things that you want to do. It's also about oppressive work regimes, and this South Node in the 6th house of hard work. You may have been devoted, dedicated to your work, but the energy you're expending there is not bringing the rewards. It can either, this square can either give you that persistence and determination to push through, or it can make you feel incredibly frustrated, and feel victimized by those energies. Okay. So I would watch out with this full moon for the fruit that has come from the Scorpio. What karmically is being shown to you in terms of your communication, the way you interact with other people, the things that you may say or do when you're frustrated. There's a lesson to be learned here. Saturn is laying a foundation which will liberate your soul. It may not give you the outward action, but the focus has been on your inner action. So have a look what's happened from October. You know, have your philosophies. This is philosophies and beliefs up here in the ninth house. And that is what is illumining your actual on the ground interactions with everyone. So have boundaries been illuminated for you with Saturn there? Saturn's been building something in the darkness, in the hiddenness of that 12th house. Have boundaries been illumined? Are there places where you need to maybe express a little less aggressively or forcefully? Or are there boundaries that you're putting in which is allowing you to express your leadership qualities, your visionary qualities, the energetic qualities you have here as an Aries? Are you putting those boundaries in so that you can shine through, so that you can have belief in yourself? Okay, that's what I have for you, Aries. And I'm going to pull you an alchemy card. And we'll have a look what that is. So the card I have for you, Aries, the cards, plural, 2 fell out. So I'm going to read the first one, and it is lightning, lightening, so making lighter, okay? But it says it's about perfectionism, facade, and hesitation. I'll read it out. This stage of lightening is a complex topic in alchemy. On the one hand, it represents purification of the material, so that's anything in your life or within you. On the other hand, it's the phase in which the alchemist may mistake the work as complete. On the surface, everything seems perfect, pristine, well thought through and quite complete. In actuality, the alchemist has been tricked by their own facade of perfection. Their work has hardly begun. Righteousness and fear are great errors of the lightening. This card arrives to remind us to get our hands dirty. No one is separate from or above anyone else. Rather, every alchemist is a kid in the laboratory, tinkering away with the elements of their life. No more fretting over your next move. That's so Aries. I said that frustration. Fearing how others will perceive you. It's time to crack open, become who you are. The world needs your true colours. So that's that sense of moksha, spiritual liberation, the cracking open. That is the cracking open of the ego, and the liberation of the soul, the true destiny. The other card that I got, and I won't read it in its entirety, I'll pick out the things that really struck me, is the Drowned King. And this is about ego collapse, losing face, but the humility. And I'm thinking with the South Node in Virgo in your 6th house, it could be that within the workplace, you've worked and worked and worked and, really put all your energy into it and things have fallen about. Okay. The king's often used as that ego, the symbol of the ego. So, it's attachment. We all need an ego. We all need that kind of persona and ego out in the world to fulfill the roles we've got to do. But it can be that part of yourself that is attached to title, name, and identity. Okay. But it is a required phase in the process of transformation. It's that dissolving who you think you are, and becoming who you're destined to be. This is the nodes of fate. There is hiddenness where Pisces is, and that's what Saturn is beavering about in your house, that house of self-sabotage. So, look at the fruit that's come up at the new moon, at the full moon, what's being illumined there, and look in the area of your mind, what is frustrating you mentally, in your communication, in your self-expression, what is frustrating you, because there will be fruit there, because Saturn has been beavering away in the hidden house, the place of your unconscious, flowing to all that lovely energy in the water trine to bring about this kind of confrontation with your soul in that respect. So, yeah, it says in this thing, when this card appears, expect a huge blow to the ego, impactful enough that it causes you to turn your life around, prioritizing grace, benevolence, and sovereignty. So it's that, it's that change from to that benevolent king. There's that sense of, and Aries, it is that frustration, that leadership, that wanting to initiate, to push through. There is something that has been happening through these grand trines, through the huge illumination in your fourth house, that spirit is wanting you to let go and to sit down in your receptiveness, to listen to your soul, to listen to what is coming through. Okay, Aries, that is what I have for you. Bye. Hello, Taurus. So this full moon for you is happening in Gemini, your second house, and across the second and eighth house axis, with the sun up there in the eighth, with your ruling planet, Venus. And Venus is under the beams of the sun. It's very close in, so it's visible in the sky. So this is going to be about income. For sure. The second house is income, the money you're bringing in, your resources, your properties, everything you own, everything that you need to live a good life, food, shelter, money, basically. The eighth house is about other people's money. It can be about legacy, money that comes through inheritance, big money from insurance payouts, etc., but other people's money. Now, you have a balance here to make, and I am looking at the new moon in Scorpio, which is in your seventh house. Okay. Now, that seventh house is being triggered in the Grand Water Trine. And the seventh house could be to do with your intimate relationships. So those intentions you set, or what was happening there, you made intentions consciously or unconsciously about either your intimate partners or about partnerships. Okay, partnerships. So that can be work partnerships. There may have been an intention you set there to find a new partner, to find someone to collaborate with, or, as I say, in your intimate relationships. But there's the fruiting of it now down here in Gemini. In your income. So perhaps something has come through. So the areas you need to look at are the details of your income, your property, the things you need to survive. Has there been a difference in there? What are the details about your money? Do you need to look closer at your money? Have you been neglecting it? Or has Gemini been bringing that sort of worry about that? Mercury, rather. Mercury is the god of trading. He's a merchant. He's in the marketplace. So it's a good house to have Gemini in, with Mercury ruling. The other side of it is the long-term goal you made with that full moon back in June, not full moon, new moon in Gemini back in June 2024. So this decision or intention that you planted here could be part of that storyline. It's a long storyline with your income and your possessions, and also what you value. This can be about what you value. And as I say, you have your planet sat up there in opposition under the beams. So perhaps there's a difficulty with things coming through at the moment. You have Uranus sat here in your first house. It's retrograded back in here around, I'm looking at my dates, the beginning of November. Okay, so right in the middle of these Grand Water Trines. So it's a disruptor. So maybe there have been disruptions there. It's going to stay in your first house, finishing up whatever it was doing there. You may have had major reconstruction of your identity and your sense of self here, or you may have rebelled and broken out of something to find more independence and freedom here. But it will be there until April 2026, the end of April. It'll go back into Gemini, and that'll be your second house. So again, that Uranus could be bringing those sudden changes and breakthroughs. So if you're hanging on, if you're in difficulties, this 8th house can be debt. It may have been a debt's been illumined and is being reflected here, something that you're owing someone else. Okay, but there's good news, because if you look at that, the details of your own income and the big picture where Jupiter is up here, you should be able to work through and work out those small details, and it will form a bigger picture in a way that you can move forward. You've got the nodes in your 5th house, Virgo, the South Node, and the 5th house can be about entrepreneurship. So going with this money thing, perhaps you've been trying to establish your own business, and this was about getting income, getting loans to finance yourself as you set that business up. That's one option. Or maybe you're still thinking about it. And it's in your 11th house. That's hopes, dreams, wishes, and can be benefactors. So there may be a breakthrough with Uranus here where a benefactor is going to come in and going to help you out somewhat there. But there's this sense of opening up to the bigger picture, Taurus. Your Grand Trine, which this 11th house is about, is your 11th, your 3rd, and your 7th. So we have Jupiter here in the 3rd. We have Mercury in your 7th, who is the ruler of this new moon. And we got Saturn here in the 11th. So maybe that you're having to, it's the house of Kama, pleasure. Maybe you're having to put boundaries in and work hard. Maybe your pleasure has gone back somewhat as you focused on your income. Okay, I shall leave it there, and I shall pull you a card. Taurus. Well, Taurus, your card, it's a beautiful card, and it's actually Mercury. As in Mercury, the metal. Okay, so this is about alchemically, Mercury is about signals, messages, and tricks. And of course, Mercury is ruling this full moon, as well as the 5th house, the South Node. Okay, the book says in the realm of Mercury, anything is possible. The energy is transfixing and seductive, just like the metal itself. Since this planet rules commerce and communication, it's likely there are deals, contracts, and calls being exchanged that will spin you into a whirl of mercurial wonder. This is an amazing, these are randomly shuffled and picked cards. Don't rush big decisions or get caught in the mesmerizing energy. Okay, so yeah, get the big picture from Jupiter. Don't get mesmerized by things coming through. If that benefactor comes with that North Node in your 11th, yeah, think things through, think the details through. Pay particular attention to the precise words that are being spoken and written. There may be a trick underway, maybe not. No one is sure yet. Mercury is known as the trickster. It is said that the energy of Mercury is found in the pinky finger, and that its ally colour is green. Enjoy your time in this emerald hall of mirrors. Just don't sign your name on the dotted line until what is liquid becomes solid, until clear words are expressed by an honest tongue. So there you have it, Taurus. It is a real interesting card for you. to be having. So I'm always blown away with Oracle or Tarot and the cards that come up. They never fail to surprise me, even though after this amount of time of reading them. Well, I hope that was helpful, Taurus. Yeah, look at the big picture. Get all the details together, release the things that you need to, even if it is contracts that are slightly dodgy, but also embrace the fruit. If this is fruit of, a lot of planning, embrace that fruit. All right, then, Taurus, I will be doing a tarot reading, which should be up on Wednesday. And I will use your signifier, your card, the card you've got now. It's a signifying card, and look deeper into this. So turn on your bell notifications and look out for that one. All right, then. Bye-bye, Taurus. Hello, Gemini. So you have this full moon in your first house, and it is the culmination of a long cycle moon, the 9-month cycles. And that new moon would have been in your first house in Gemini in June 2024. So have a look back to there and see what you seeded there, because this is the harvest of that. It is also the harvest of the new moon in Scorpio 2 weeks ago, November the 20th. So what was seeded there is coming to fruition. They may or may not be connected. They usually are. And that new moon in Scorpio, and where all the Grand Water Trines have been activated, is in your 6th house. So the 6th house is hard work. It can be to do with health issues, small animals, employers, employees, all those significations there. But this first house that is really interesting is about you, your character, your identity, your sense of self, your body. So mental, emotional, physical, everything to do with about you, the work you do, the activities you like to do, your family, everything. And your north and south nodes are in the 4th and 10th house, okay? North node in Pisces in your 10th, that's your public face, can be your work, your vocation. And your 4th house, the south node, Virgo, home, family. So you have these on your angles, which is going to make this very powerful, and even more so if you have planets within those 4th house, whose 4 angular houses, 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th. Okay, so what is this about for you? The sun in Sagittarius in your 7th house of relationships, intimate partnerships, can be a spouse or your lover, is illuminating something about you, your identity, who you are. Now, when there was that new moon there back in June 2024, you may have began work on yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, anything. You may have been changing your body. The moon is about the body. So you may have been working on your body. And with this grand trine, with Mercury here in your 6th that's been activated there, it could be about your health issues, where you've been dealing with health issues. Now, this Grand Water Trine in your 2nd, Cancer, 6, Scorpio, and 10th, Pisces, is about, it's called Arta, the work you were born to do, not necessarily your paid work, but it is the work you're born to do. What drives you forward. So it may be something you do on the side. Maybe you are researching or writing or communicating in some way, something that you're passionate about, that you really want to continue doing. So this Grand Water Trine has been flowing in those houses, with in particular your 6th house activated, doing the activation. So I would say, Gemini, you are having those polarities between those dualities, those tensions between you as an individual and perhaps your partnership. And then with the nodes in your 10th house, your work, and in your 4th house, home and family. So these are where the tensions would be, but the fruit is coming in your 1st house. So perhaps there's been with the South Node in your 4th house, which is about your roots and your inner work. This can be. It's what's very private. Maybe you've let go of certain things about you and it has changed you profoundly. And this is affecting the relationship. This is, making it where you're having to make adjustments. There's tensions there anyway. Maybe those adjustments need to be made. So have a look at the details of what has been going on with you as a person, both from June till now, June 2024 that is, and November 2025. What's been seeded? What tensions are there? You also have had since June 2024, you did have a visit from Uranus ingressed into your house on July 2025, and it was there until the 8th of November. So you may have had sudden insights, sudden disruptions in the area of you and anything. So look at those disruptions because they may be a heads up because Uranus only comes in and disrupts and agitates because it's about freedom, becoming free. And I talked in the main, if you listen to the main bulk of the video, about, this breaking free at a soul level, the shell cracking and that breaking free. So look at the details there, but also look to your relationships for the big pictures. What feedback are you getting from people? What are those nearest and dearest to you telling you, reflecting back to you? But also this can be business partnerships, and as the Grand Water Trine in your, the work you were born to do, this could be your business, your business partners. So again, take note, because that big picture with Jupiter ruling that 7th house may be the very thing that you can fit all your information into, that you can get a better insight about. Okay, that's what I have for you, Gemini, and I'm going to pull you a card now. And the card I have for you, Gemini, is the Void. So the Void is a liminal space. It's about darkness and destiny. So it could be, I'll read what the book says in a moment. It could be that you've been going through somewhat of a dark night of the soul for a smaller or longer period, where you've been trying to find who you are, that lovely cliche. I'm searching for myself. Who am I? It is the biggest question. And this could be what is bringing all these changes. But I will read this. It might be an explanation to you. And with those Grand Water Trine since October, they bring huge amounts of emotions. Gemini, you're often more cerebral, you're thinking, you're using your mind, your logic, your rationality, and this has been very emotional. Perhaps that's been your Void. I should read the card. It is about destiny, and this is the nodes of fate. Okay, so the Void is a mystical riddle in and of itself. It cannot be understood by means of alchemy, chemistry, science, or spirituality. It astounds the most adept seeker and humbles the philosopher. From the depths of nothingness, all feelings and possibilities are birthed. Behind the curtain of our material world, the power of eternal spaciousness is at work. This card may appear at a time when something has been released. A relationship, the sun's in your 7th house, Gemini, a possession, a title. The work you are born to do, Gemini, is where the trine's been. And that will include your possessions and titles. But the Void is much bigger than any worldly entity. When an alchemist approaches the Void, destiny shifts in the darkness. Like magnets, you're drawn to it as it is drawn towards you. Meditation is a critical act at this time. Just sit and breathe, surrender to the vastness. There is an electricity between you and the void that is sacred and timeless. From its center, everything is born. So, beautiful card for you, Gemini. Often not an easy card, but beautiful nonetheless. Destiny is born in the void. Every potentiality is contained within that void for growth. So I hope that was helpful. I will be doing a reading on Wednesday using these alchemical cards as the signifier and doing a tarot read for everyone. So if you're interested in that, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell and you'll find when that comes. We'll have a deeper dive on the void for you. All right, Gemini, see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Hello, Cancer. So you are having this full moon in your 12th house. And the Grand Cross with the tension with the sun is in your 6th house. And then we have the nodes of the moon, the nodes of fate in your 9th house, north node, 3rd house, south node. So this is a fascinating one, okay, because this full moon is the culmination and the fruit of the moon that you planted or seeded or was seeded unconsciously, because the 12th house is the house of hidden things. It is about the unconscious, but that would have been seeded back in June 2024. So go back there and see, were there things coming up in your dreams, from the depths of your soul, in meditation, in your imagination? Have a look, that have now been concretized in you in your 1st house. So have a look at that. But that tension that you're having is with the 6th house, and the 6th house can be about health. It can be about hard work, employers, employees, even small animals. So there could be a possibility, because the 12th house can be to do with illness and it can be to do with isolation. It could be that at some point, before or during that June 2024, there was an issue with your health. You were hospitalized and you've been working on that health, because it's the place of isolation as well. It can also be mental health. So perhaps there are emotional issues that have come up, that are being healed, that are being taken care of. But it is in opposition, as the full moon always is, to the sun. So how you shine, how you again, about your identity. And you do have in your 1st house an exalted Jupiter, which is bringing you good fortune, good luck. It's retrograde at the moment, but it's been doing some beautiful things in your 1st house of identity, who you are, and everything about your life. So this is good. And that Grand Water Trine is happening in your Dharma houses, so the purpose you were born for. So I am not surprised that this full moon is happening over some difficult houses. 12th house is called the house of bad daimon, bad spirit, and the 6th house is the house of bad fortune. So these are the ancient terms for them, but it can be that sense of, with the moon there, the hiddenness. It can be about our own self-sabotaging. So with the houses of Dharma, the purpose you're born for, it is that sense of finding, who am I? What am I here for? What am I supposed to be creating? And your philosophy and belief. And you do have the North Node up there in your 9th house, and that's the house of God. It's the house of beliefs. It's the house of philosophy, faith, higher learning, higher mindedness. So perhaps there is that tension between the South and North Node. The 3rd house is details. It's what makes you happy, what gives you pleasure mentally, what stimulates you. It's about your local community, brothers, sisters, extended family, your day-to-day life there, and the joy of the moon, that 3rd house. So there's a sense with that South Node of decrease of that. Maybe that has brought that frustration, upset, or shifted you in some way in those hidden places for you. The new moon in Scorpio, you set an intention there in your 5th house on the 20th of November. So part of the Grand Trine, but it's actually about children. It's about romance, romantic love. It's about games and gambling and risk taking. But it's also about your creativity, what you're here to create. And with your Dharma house, you've got Mercury there. So Mercury will be, it's activating the Grand Trine at the time of this full moon. So Mercury is likely to be bringing you messages, bringing you insights, bringing you a sense of breaking through mentally. Okay, that first house, the first house is the helm, and it's the joy of Mercury. So a sense of getting insight on yourself, on your identity, on your Dharma, what you're here to do. Okay, so work with those things. Look at the details that are coming up from your unconscious or the hidden places, anything that's hidden. It could be hidden enemies. The sun can be in this 6th house, can be open enemies. So perhaps that's being illumined, someone who was sabotaging you, and we can be our own enemies. It could be you. That is your ruler there, is being illumined. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, Cancer, and I am going to pull you an alchemy card. Well, Cancer, how beautiful. Talking about the 12th house where the moon is, the hidden house. You have got the card called the Red and White Rose, which is part of the mysteries of alchemy. So I'll just read the card and you take it as you intuitively feel it. It's vital force, arising and awakening. In the laboratory, the merging of red and white is an exquisite moment. It means something is coming to life before the alchemist's eyes. The pristine white of the rose is not threatened by the blood red pigment. Their mixing does not make pink. Rather, each colour remains vibrantly itself, expressing its message like the rod of Asclepius, representing health and vitality. The red and white rose appears to signify the awakening of the physical as a gateway to the spiritual. So that sun in your 6th house, if you've had bad health, Cancer, maybe illumine that gateway through for you into the spiritual. The sun is the spirit. Without the body, spiritual teachings remain conceptual, not yet integrated into the everyday. This card encourages the alchemist to honour the body as a temple each and every day, observing it, listening to it, mining it for information and guidance. That's very mercurial. At its height, this card signifies a mastery, a uniting of body to serve the soul's purpose, as seen in the like of dancers, athletes, and during the birth process. And Cancer, your whole energetics, the moon is the body, and Cancer is about embodiment. It's about soul, spirit, descending into the material. So a beautiful card for you. I will be doing a reading on each sign's card, alchemy card that they have here. I should use that as a significator, and then we should do a tarot read and a digger deep on it. So if you're not already subscribe and hit the notification bell. That should be out on Wednesday. All right then, Cancer. Bye-bye. I'll catch you in the next one. Hello, Leo. So the full moon for you is happening in your 11th house, Gemini, in your 11th house. The 11th house is about your hopes, wishes, dreams. So maybe something's been illumined here by the sun over there in the 5th that you've been working on, and it has come to fruition. Now, you would have set the intention for this, either the short-term moon, which is was in Scorpio, and that is your fourth house, where Mercury sits at the moment. So your fourth house of home, family, your roots, your ancestral roots, everything that's at the foundation, including your inner life. So maybe an intention was set there, and you're having that fruition, that you're having some hopes and wishes highlighted, and you've got some fruit from there. It is the house of benefactors and those who are behind the scenes supporting you, friends, groups, communities. So get the details from what's being reflected there in the 11th house. The 5th house is the house of children. It's the house of creativity, of risk taking, gambling, and entrepreneurship. So there could be that sense of you putting something out there. There's fruit from where you've put, where you've been creative and you've created a business, or you've just got beautiful creations that you can bring out to your community. But there is a tension there. There's always between the sun and the moon. So look at the details as well in that 11th house of maybe what other people were reflecting to you out in the community. Maybe there's adjustments you need to make to what you're offering. Maybe there's adjustments in how you communicate and express yourself there. You've also got this long-term cycle, which was the new moon in Gemini in your 11th house it was early June, I believe, 2024. So again, look at what you were seeding there in terms of hopes, wishes, dreams, and the people who support you in those, and your groups and communities out there in the community, because again, there is fruit. There's low-hanging fruit for you there, Leo. And of course, your ruler is that sun in that 5th house. So there's some real intention there that has come to fruition, but there may be adjustments that are needed. Now, the nodes of fate, the moon's nodes are there in your 2nd and 8th house. The south node is in your 2nd house of income, resources, everything you need to have a good life. And up there in the 8th is other people's money. Can be karmic debts, it can be literal debts, it can be legacy money. Excuse me. It can be legacy money, yeah. So there's a tension between those two. There could be or have been a decrease to your own income and an increase of debt, maybe in the act of getting your creativity out there in the world or focusing on your children. That income has gone down, okay? Now, all of this, if we look at the Grand Water Trine for you, it is in what is called the moksha houses, okay? So that's your 4th house of home, family, roots, your inner self, the 8th house that we've just looked at, and the 12th house, Cancer, which is the hidden, the unseen. The moksha houses are about spiritual liberation. So whatever frustration you may be feeling, Leo, you may be being called to look at how, you're in your mind, how you deal with your own money and other people's money. Maybe there's some things there that need to be adjusted, be looked at. You've got Saturn up there with your North Node. And it's about liberation. And with the soul is not interested in the material. It's interested in our inner growth or inner development. And you have got Mercury there in that 4th house, your inner world, your home, your roots, your ancestral roots. Maybe you're dealing with ancestral karmic cycles, but Mercury is there and going to be bringing you messages, and has been bringing you messages. I think he's passed 4 times and 4 times and activated the Grand Trine. So that's what I have for you, Leo. I will now pull you an alchemy card. And I have for you, Leo, the alchemical material. It's one of the materials cards of smoke. So it's smouldering, it's a warning, it's illusion. Okay, that's the title of the card. Smoke is a tantalizing phenomenon. stealth-like and seductive. It swirls and twists, rising and disappearing. It travels great lengths with its signature scent, warning of a flame somewhere in life's laboratory. And you know, the only fire that's lit up at the moment is you yourself, Leo, is a fire sign. And where the sun is your ruling planet in the 5th house, this is the house of risks. So I think this oracle is trying to get you to perhaps have a look of risks that you're taking that may be a bit illusory. Just something that came to mind, okay? Such is the nature of the smoke card. When present, the senses are aroused and enticed, yet the warning of fire cannot be ignored. What kind of smoke is it? Was the fire intended? Is it a ritual or an accident? Does the smoke carry notes of incense and herbs, or is it laced with the fear-stricken scent of destruction? The smoke card asks us to wake up, to become alert to what is happening around us. Something burns. Those around you may fall under smoke seduction, or they may flee in panic. Don't get distracted by their response. Stay in your own laboratory and see what emerges as you study the smouldering veil. Okay, make of that what you will, Leo. But there you have it. I will be using that smoke card for Leo in a tarot reading and using it as a signification card and having a digger deep. That will come out on the day of the new moon on the 4th of December. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe and hit the notification bell and you'll see when that comes up if you want a deeper dive into your smoky card. All right, Leo, I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Hello, Virgo. The full moon for you is happening in Gemini in your 10th house. So that's the house of your public face, your vocation, the way that you present in public, your status, where you shine. So this is your 10th house, okay? It's the highest point in the sky. And the sun is sat down there in the 4th house, and that's your home, family, your roots, your foundations. So that can be your root family, your ancestors, and your inner, your deepest inner, your soul, particularly. And you have the sun there illumining that more private space for you. It's not only illumining the moon, it's illumining you, okay? And it's showing you a bigger picture. And the ruler of this full moon is obviously Mercury, your ruler. Okay, so it's ruling that south node in your 1st house also. So yeah, I would say this is very much about how you are expressing, how you are communicating on a public level, and perhaps the impact of that for good or for bad. Now, there may be tension between, because the sun in 4th and the moon in your 10th. This is particularly interesting because that grand cross is on your angle, so it's very powerful. And the sun represents your father and the moon, your mother. Okay, so there could be tensions between your mother and father, or differences that are trying to be ironed out here. Okay, it could literally be that tension. Or if you're a mother, maybe you're working mum and you're out in public, and there's some difficulties with home, with family, whilst you're doing that, things that need to be ironed out. So look at the details of that communication, that self-expression, the way you are in your career, your vocation, out there in public, or where you can be seen. That seems to be what the moon is asking for. The moon's also about your body, so it could be your appearance, public. Maybe that's changing for you. But these nodes, you have the south node, and it will be in your 1st house for a total of a year and a half. And the south node is often about decrease. So there may be things going on you know, in the first house is your identity, your sense of self, your character, you in the world. So it can be any area of your life, but it's actually about you and your identity. The South Node is often the more, it's decreases of the material for increase in the spiritual. So it may be that Spirit's been working on your ego, or you've been working on your ego, you know, the earthly things you want. You are an earth sign. So it's that material thing, all those material things you're looking for. And now that Virgo, the Virgin, that devotional, that service is coming more to the forefront for you rather than earning the material things. So that's the full moon in Gemini. And that South Node, it is in your 7th house. It's the house of relationships, often your partner, your lover, your spouse, intimate relationships, those that you are intimate with. And you've got Saturn there, which is the disciplinarian. Saturn has been in your 7th house for the last 2.5 years, digging down and laying foundations. And it's part of that Grand Water Trine. It is in a trine to your Mercury, and that's in your 3rd house. And the 3rd house is about your everyday life. It's about the ebb and flow, the fluctuations as you go about your business every day. It's also about siblings, and it's about cousins, extended family. So there may be something there that Mercury is communicating to you. It may be the way that you are expressing yourself within your family. Maybe that decrease in your 1st house with that South Node. You've had the sun reflecting at home into that moon, that there needs to be some changes in the way you communicate or you express yourself. The other thing is that Grand Water Trine is in your 3rd, 7th, and 11th, which is karma, the pleasure you're born for, the relationships you're born for, the things that bring you pleasure. So maybe this sense with Saturn sat there in your 7th, that there needs to be some discipline and perhaps some cutting back. Maybe you felt Saturn cutting off or restricted your relationships in some way. But look for that mirror, the play between those two things, that polarity, that duality, because that is what you're going to be needing to bring back together again for yourself. And you do have Jupiter in the water trine sat up there in your 11th house of hopes, dreams, wishes, which is beautiful because there can be an expansion there. There can be real growth there. It's also about all those behind the scene who support you to get your hopes, wishes and dreams fulfilled. Oh, excuse me. So that's what I have for you, Virgo. And with the moons, just one more thing before I get you your card. You planted seeds in June 2024. I don't know whether I said it, in that new moon in Gemini. So they've come to fruition now for you. So look at what has fruited for you there in your house, public house. And then you made a intention on the 20th of November in your 3rd house where your ruler is. And that's the pleasure houses that are being activated there. So the fruit of that new moon in Scorpio will be showing up publicly. You know, it will be well illumined. Okay, Gemini, that's what. Okay, Virgo, that's what I have for you. I'll pull you a card now, Virgo, and let's have a look at what comes up with the alchemy card for you. Beautiful card. You've got one of the alchemical operations called sublimation, elevation, rising, flight. And it's the great alchemical operation of air. And it is the element of air that counts for Gemini. So Gemini is air. So very interesting what this full moon is bringing about. It occurs when there's enough heat to change a solid substance into a gas, causing it to rise up, up, and away. Therefore, when sublimation is present, there is an aspect of celebrated elevation, of ascending above and gaining a greater perspective. Birds in flight, mountain peaks, ladders, and balloons are all sublimation images. As with all operations, sublimation has a shadow potential. Through ascension, there is a risk of separating from others, of sensing oneself higher or above. This risk is particularly great in spiritual traditions that offer a linear model of achievement. The divine alchemist rises humbly and supports the upliftment of others, always in touch with the cycle of humanity. Service is the natural balancing agent for sublimation. It may be the next rung on your ladder. And Virgo, the archetype of your sign is service. So there's a humility with that. So that may be some of the work that has been happening for you, Virgo. Okay, I will be using this card sublimation as a signification card for a tarot reading on Virgo. I should be doing one for all the signs. So if you're interested in seeing that will come out on Wednesday. If you're not already subscribed, then subscribe and hit the notification bell and you'll be notified as soon as that is up. All right then, Virgo. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Hello, Libra. The full moon for you is in your 9th house, which is the house of God in ancient astrology. It's the house of philosophy, of belief, of faith, of the higher learning, the higher mind. And the sun obviously opposite in Sagittarius in your 3rd house. And this is the house, the joy of the moon. Okay. So you've got the god and the goddess in opposition in each other's house. Okay. The house where they find their joy. So there's some real alchemy going on for you here, Libra, with this full moon. There's some seed that was sown more recently with the Scorpio new moon, which is sat there in your 2nd, and that's your house of income. It's your house of values. It's your house of everything you need to survive. So you made an intention there, consciously or unconsciously, and the fruit is now there in your 9th house. So have a look at the themes there. It may have been something to do with your belief about money, about your ability to make money in the way that you want to make it. And that other time that there was a new moon was June 2024, when there was a new moon in Gemini, and that is in your 9th house. So part of this full moon is the fruition of that longer cycle as well, Libra. So it's looking at higher learning. Maybe you put intentions in there to get yourself into higher learning. And that higher learning doesn't just have to be academic. It can be the esoteric learning, the higher mysteries. It can be about cosmic mind, that spiritual side of higher mind there. So there is some polarities there. There's some oppositions that need to come together there. So the full moon will be highlighting that. Your desires, what you want to happen for you, the way you've, your ideal in terms of belief, philosophy, faith, higher learning has come to fruition here, and it may not be the ideal that you intended. So there may be some difficulty there for you. So have a look at that. Your south node and north node opposing each other. You have your north node in your 6th and you have the south node in your 12th. These are quite difficult houses. They are The 12th house is the hidden house. It's the house of the unconscious. It's the house of self-sabotage, hidden enemies, illness, isolation, all those lovely things. But you do have the South Node, which is a decrease. So if there are any issues there with illness, isolation, loneliness, maybe, there can be a release of those there, a decrease. That's what the Node of Fate's doing here. Whereas the North Node in that sixth house of health, hard work, toil really is. And that again is a house that is called the house of bad fortune, the joy of Mars. So it can be a difficult one at health. Is in there too. But the North Node is an increase for good or for bad here. And I would say for good because we have Saturn here, which has been in Pisces for 2.5 years. It will be leaving again and going back into Aries. But that would have been digging foundations, bringing discipline in, putting a new foundation in. It's just clearing up here. So I would say this is an increase for the good. Those oppositions there, the hidden and the decrease and the increase, these are things that are going to have to be amalgamated. Pisces is very much about that compassion. It's about an expansiveness. It can be the sign of the martyr, self-sacrifice. But with Virgo, we do have that more, it's ruled by Mercury, that more analytical type of mind here. So it could be, the details that you're seeing in that 9th house. Maybe there are too many details in your belief. There's too many choices, too much information. But you will be able to bring all those things into a beautiful unity at some point. And this full moon is highlighting that, both the long cycle and this shorter cycle. Your ruler, Mercury, is sat there with the sun under the beams. Okay, so she can't be seen, basically, in the sky. She's under the beams of the sun. She'll go combust shortly. She is combust. No, she's combust already. Excuse me. And she will, so she's not at her brilliant best at the moment. So that love harmony, that balance that Libra is known for may be a little bit off balance. But when there's disharmony and a lack of balance, it's often to do some inner work, to look at ourselves and to do that work. You have the Grand Water Trine in your Altar, which is your 2nd, 6th and 10th, and it's the work you were born to do. Okay. So that is the spiritual trajectory in terms of what's going on with this Grand Water Trine. And Mercury is there in the 2nd house, bringing messages about the work you're born to do, but he's also bringing messages about your income, your property, all the things you need, all the resources you need to live a good life. So that's what I have for you, Libra. And I will pull you an alchemy card, see how you can bring those opposite energies of the sun and the moon and the north and the south node into a beautiful whole. And the card I have for you is vinegar. It's one of the materials. So it's about acidity, distillation, and memory. Memory is associated with the moon, Libra. So the book says the tongue knows vinegar. Even the suggestion of receiving a few drops into the mouth reminds us of vinegar's sour and lip-puckering qualities. That's like when you think of a lemon, isn't it? In alchemy, vinegar serves as an active agent of distillation, fermentation, and preservation. It's incredibly useful when applied in the right amounts and with intention. This said, it can be easily overused, overwhelming the situation at hand. When the vinegar card is present in a reading, it indicates a sour note permeates the laboratory. It's likely something from the past is showing up in the present and demanding our attention. It is in vinegar's nature to take over, to overwhelm. Be cautious with this material. A little goes a long way. As they say, it is productive to look at your past, but don't stare. Such is the complex energy of vinegar. Yeah, there's that it's alluding to that. If you stare long enough into the abyss, it will stare back at you. So that is your card. Use it as it resonates with you. And I will be doing a tarot reading, which should be out Wednesday. And I'll be using this vinegar card as your signification card for a tarot read to dig a bit deeper with it. Okay, then, Libra. Oh, subscribe and hit the notification button if you don't want to miss that read. Nearly forgot. All right, then, Libra. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Hello, Scorpio. This full moon for you is in your 8th house, and therefore the sun is in opposition in Sagittarius in your 2nd house. These are the houses of money. The 8th house is other people's money, and it can be legacy money, inheritance money, payout from insurances, taxes, rebates, but it can also be about debt, the debts that you owe or that are owed to you, and this can be karmic debts too. So this full moon is happening here, and it could be some karmic cycle that you've been working with that is now coming to an end, and that could be to do with money, could be the completion of a literal financial debt, it could be the ending of a karmic debt, a soul contract, the end of that. And the sun's illuming that in that 8th house from your 2nd house of resources. That's everything, your income, everything you need to make a good life for yourself and to survive. Can also be to do with your values, and never forget, part of your resources are you, yourself, your skills, your abilities, your knowledge. So the details that are being illumined in Mercury's sign are up there in the 8th house, and also the ruler of the moon is Mercury, which is in your 1st house, and the 1st house is the joy of Mercury. It's the helm, it's the way you steer, it is you, your identity, your character, you in your life as a person, as a person. So we have this opposition from the 2nd to the 8th, and it has a lot to do with resources, finance, values, yourself. And I can imagine, Scorpio, you may have had quite a tumultuous time since the end of October, because it's through your 1st house that all these planets have been passing and triggering this Grand Water Trine. And that Grand Water Trine for you is Dharma, and Dharma is purpose, why you're here. Is those questions: who am I, why am I here, what am I here for? So Dharma is that, the purpose you're born for. So you would have had a lot going on in terms of not only the planets passing through, but also that release and that flow between your 1st, your 5th and your 9th, and therefore whatever planet was transiting your 1st, Scorpio, and trining with Saturn there in your 5th, Pisces, and Jupiter there in your 9th, Cancer. So this could be to do with the combination of, with this full moon, it could be the harvest, the fruit could be coming from your Dharma, because you have married your purpose and your work together, maybe in the healing arts, maybe on a spiritual level, maybe as a psychologist, anything at depth. Scorpio has a lot to do with depths, the hidden depths. You may be working within care, you might be a death doula. Yeah, so a lot going on, but Mercury is bringing you personally a lot of messages here in the 1st house. So keep your ears and your intuition very open. It is activating this Grand Trine again. And if it is to do with this money issue, what we have in the 5th house, it is children, it's risk taking, it's romantic love, but it can also be to do with entrepreneurship. So if you're a Scorpio rising and you have your own business, you have had Saturn sat here, retrograding. It's now turned direct. So if you've had anything stuck there, Saturn's been there clearing up for some time. It's been in, by the time it goes back into Aries, it would have been there 2.5 years, and it sits there with that North Node. And that North Node is about increase. So if you've had a sense of stuckness here with moving forward with your purpose, moving forward with your business, a stuckness with the money, with that Moon and Sun here, then there's release coming, there's forward movement coming here for you. Now, you would have made there was a new moon in Gemini in June 2024 up in that 8th house. This could be to do with karmic cycles, with other people's money. You may have made intentions here in this house, and this is the fullness of those intentions, the fruit. So have a look in those themes, those topics of the 8th house, for the information that Mercury is now speaking to you in your first house, okay? The ruler of Gemini and of this full moon, because it is likely that you're going to get a lot of information there. And the big picture will come within your resources. You may have overlooked resources that you have, Scorpio. You've also got your ruling planet there in Sagittarius, and it's under the beams. It's combust the sun under the beams. It will have a gazemi there and be rebirthed. But there may be some difficult with the clarity. But as I said, you've got Mercury there in Scorpio activating a huge amount of your chart. And I think you'll get that communication. And Mars, I think Mars goes Cazimi along with Venus, actually, about the 9th, 10th of January. They're both at the heart of the sun being rebirth, renewed. So if there's a stuckness there, Scorpio, you can look to January for that to be coming out. But look at what you planted there back in June 2024, up in that 8th house. Look for the information in terms of what's fruited there, and also what you planted in the Scorpio new moon on the 20th of November, 2 weeks ago, because there's fruit from that, and that's all about you. So that would probably be a much more clear sense of intention. You may have been making the intentions about your purpose, about your business there, North Node, and that's come to fruition. But look at both the big picture. Sometimes we get lost in the details, especially when it's a bit of an obscure house like the 8th house. We can get lost in those details. So have a look at what's fruited there, what's visible, what messages Mercury is bringing you. And you have this opposition between the North Node and the South Node. We've talked a bit about the North Node there in your 5th house, your Dharma house. You have your South Node in the house, the 11th house. It's the house of good spirit. It's the joy of Jupiter up here. Jupiter's in your Dharma house, 9th house of beliefs there. But this is about a decrease, and this is about friends, groups, your hopes, your wishes. It may be that your hopes and wishes have decreased somewhat because emotionally things have been a bit up and down and all over the place, and you've lost sight of your hopes and wishes. Well, Mercury will be whispering them back to you here, but this is also about benefactors. So in terms of these money houses, it may be that you lost someone, or people behind the scenes, those who help you, are no longer helping you here. So there can be this opposition between, the 5th house of entrepreneurship, business decisions you're making, maybe some risks that you're taking in the discipline of Saturn, and that decrease. But that frustration between the two of those, and this is Mercury's house with your South Node again in your 1st house. If there's been a decrease, if there's been a decrease in support, particularly financial, or difficulties there, you will get some relief from that, and it will be pushing you in a direction to dig deep within yourself, find your own resources. The sun's here. This is about vitality, life force. It's also about your intelligence, the higher mind. So it may be that you need to apply higher thinking to your income, become more creative. You've got Venus sat there in your second house, and although she's combust the sun, there's going to be some sort of alchemical coming together of both Venus and Mars, and Venus is the creative, the artistic. Okay, Scorpio, that's what I've got for you at the moment. I'm now going to throw you an alchemical card, and we'll have a look at what that brings for you. One moment. Well, Scorpio, how wonderful. You've got my favourite card of the deck, and it is a very positive alchemical card for you. It's the Ouroboros, the Great Serpent. It's the Tail Eater, the Guardian, and it's about the quantum realm. So I'll read it, and you can apply it to the astrology, okay? The Ouroboros is the all-encompassing glyph of the alchemical process. It is actually, as a side note, it's part of the mysteries of alchemy. The hungry snake bends itself around you in a gesture of protection and guardianship, giving you the space and safety to participate in the work. So you are guarded and protected here and assisted by this Ouroboros, this great serpent. Anything and everything can be offered into its mouth for transformation, good, bad, blasphemous or precious. The materials of our life transmute into gems along the great serpent's spine. Along with your woes, the Ouroboros engulfs every pair of opposites. So this is that grand cross in the sky. You've got support here for this work. What is masculine becomes feminine. What is sky becomes earth. What is past becomes future. When this card appears, you've entered the quantum realm. Everything is a possibility. No one knows the limits of the Ouroboros. Just when you fell into thinking that your life was straightening out, the snake takes you once again into its gaping mouth for an entirely new trajectory. So I am thinking here, Scorpio, this is such a good omen going ahead, particularly if it's about business, it's about money, it's about your dharma, your soul work, because that's what we're here to do, to clarify our soul, purify our soul. So wonderful for you, Scorpio. I will be doing a tarot card in which I take your card, the Ouroboros, as a signifier and throw some tarot. So if you're interested in that, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and that should be up on Wednesday. All right, see you in the next one, Scorpio. Bye-bye. Hello, Sagittarius. The full moon for you is over there opposite your first house in the 7th house of relationships, of particularly intimate relationships. So your wife, your husband, spouse, and yeah, those more intimate relationships is what that is about. So something is fruiting there for you over there in Gemini. Okay. It may be that the 7th house also in relationship with the other intimate relationship we have is with our mothers. So perhaps there's something going on there with the mother, or because it's body, with the body of someone close to you. Maybe there's changes there. Maybe there's a pregnancy there of your partner. But there is, it is all to do. The harvest is coming. I mean, I always see the full moon as a full-term pregnancy. So maybe Sagittarius, you have got a pregnant partner who's coming to the end of a term, and you're wanting lots and lots of details about what to do next. We have the completion or the near completion. I always see this as about 8.5 months pregnancy of something that you seeded there in your 7th house of relationships. This can also be business partnerships here, and contracts, Sagittarius. But it is something that's coming near to completion that was seeded either in the long cycle of in June 2024 that's now come to fruition, and in the shorter cycle you would have seeded something either consciously or unconsciously in Scorpio on the 20th of November, 2 weeks ago, over there in your 12th house. That's why I say unconsciously, it's a hidden house that has now come to fruition. So look at the details of the fruit, you know, what has come out in terms of relationship, be they intimate relationships or relationships, partnerships with work, contracts. What has come to fruition there? What was seeded? What did you seed 2 weeks ago and back in June 2024? There may be some kind of polarization here for you, some duality. You're a mutable sign, so is Gemini. That is the heart of your sign. So there could be that oppositional in that you, as Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter, have that sense of the fuller picture, the bigger picture. Okay. And whoever this is that you're relating to is detail orientated. It's got lots and lots of details, but maybe missing the big picture. But you too could be missing the details. So don't overlook the details, Sagittarius. Listen carefully. You know, communication of Gemini is about listening. So listen carefully, even if all those details bore you, because I think Mercury will be bringing you something here in this 12th house that is going to highlight, and it's coming from a hidden place, an unconscious place. Okay, so listen to those details, Sagittarius. The other opposition you have here is in your 4th and 10th house with the nodes of the moon, the nodes of Fate. And you know, this full moon is going to be a biggie for you because this grand cross is on all your angles, like all these houses. Virgo, Pisces, and Gemini are all mutable houses. So it's transitional, this grand cross for you all, but you should be, although it would be impactful, particularly if you've got planets at these 13-degree points, you know, from 10 degrees to 16 degrees. In the mutable signs, it will hit you even harder. It'll have more of a profound effect on you and is more important for you in that sense to work with the energies. So the 4th house is home, family, it's roots, it's deep roots here, generation, ancestral roots, and your inner, your deep inner, excuse me, your deep inner work. And it's being trined from Mercury activating this Grand Water Trine in your 12th, okay? And Mercury's that ruler of that full moon. So Mercury is bringing communications and answers from things that may be hidden from your subconscious, your unconscious. So keep an eye out on your dreams, keep an eye out on your imagination, your daydreams, messages that come to you. If you work with spirit guides, then, you know, keep your ears open because Mercury will be communicating something here, not just to Saturn here, but also to your ruler over there in the 8th. I'll talk about that in a minute. So this North Node is an increase, okay? So it could be an increase in terms of your home, and I talked about maybe a pregnant partner over here coming to full term. This is the 4th house of home, family, roots, okay? But there's an increase here, and it should be a pleasant increase, okay? And we got Pisces here, who's oceanic, so it might be a large increase. Are you having twins or triplets? Okay, and I'm joking with you. And then opposite in the 10th house, which is your public, it's your vocation, it's the work that you do out in the world, it's the way you are perceived in public, whereas this is private down here. It's the height of the sun. And there is a decrease here. So it may be that your expression, this is Virgo ruled by Mercury, maybe that your expression, your communication, your appearance out in public is reducing somewhat, maybe because what's going over here in your partnerships and within your home and with you, Sagittarius. I have to say, with your ruler here, is exalted here in Cancer, and it will be there for a total of a year. It's retrograding at the moment, so it's going back over. It's re-looking, reviewing things of the 8th house. Now, the 8th house, excuse me, the 8th house can be somewhat difficult. It can be about other people's finances, other people's money, like inheritance, wills, legacies, but money belonging to a spouse and a partner. So there could be issues there in terms of this full moon. But it's also about loss, decay, death, fear, and the fear and anxiety attached to them. Yeah, it's about reevaluating and accepting the loss of elements of life here. Okay, that Jupiter will be working really graciously with over here. And it's good fortune here in this difficult placement in the 8th. So if you have had loss, over this period of time, there could be money coming here. It's other people, wills which will help you in terms of doing something within your home, helping with your partnership. But look at those polarities, okay? They are oppositional. So we have decrease of the public and increase of the inner. It can cause difficulties, and you being Sagittarius should be well aware of both your higher mind and your lower instinctual. So keep an eye on you. The sun, the fiery sun is in your fiery first house. So keep an eye on you in terms of looking at the duality within you and managing those. And then in terms of your relationship, that'll have more to do with communication, self-expression, information and facts. Okay, that's what I have for you, Sagittarius. And I've forgotten, after I've been bumbling, whether I told you the dates. June 2024, you would have seeded something in that 7th house, Gemini. And yeah, I think I did. November the 20th, 2 weeks ago, you would have seeded something in that 12th house. And the Grand Water Trine is in your moksha houses, your 12th, 4th, and 8th, which is about spiritual liberation, liberating the soul. So whatever's going on out there in the world is to support you to bring everything together, to do that alchemical work, to bring the dualities, the polarities together, to make your soul whole in that sense. So you can be the centaur Chiron rather than those other centaurs who are a bit naughty and instinctual. Okay, that's what I have for you, Sagittarius. I'm now going to pull you an alchemical card to see what's needed for you here, what work you can do. Well, Sagittarius, you can't make this up. The alchemy card you have is so spot on for what we've been talking about in your chart. It is ash, a material ash. It is to do with memory, which is the moon is associated with memory over there in your 7th house, ancestors and the past. Your 4th house, where the North Node is. You're doing, the water trine has been in your moksha houses, okay, that soul work. So for me, and with your ruler in the 8th house, that loss, grief, decay that we talked about, it's a real sense of karmic cycles ending and dealing with those. All right. So I'll read the card out to you. It says ash represents what has come before it. The fire is now over. and its flames took with it all recognizable form of what was burned. Only memories and the soft grey ashen substance remain. When this card appears, look back and sift through what has occurred. You're in the realm of ancestors, past relationships, and those that have passed to another realm. Be gentle with the process as it's delicate and sacred. The Ash card asks us to tend to the true nature of endings, grief, and letting go. You may be asked to be present with others experiencing loss. When in doubt, be like ash. It's silken, light, and easily carried by the wind, softening to the memories and softening to the tears. Eventually, forgiveness follows, and the heart travels a light. There we go. I feel kind of a bit choked up with that. There you go, Sagittarius. There is a sense of grief in the energy. I'm feeling it right now. So, loss, grief, karmic. It may be that your partner has lost someone and you're having to support them. But yeah, be gentle with yourself, be tender, allow this to soften you, this ash, into the work of moksha, into spiritual liberation, the liberation of the soul from material. Okay, Sagittarius, I hope that was helpful. I will be doing a reading with this card, this ash card, as your significator. I'll be doing it for all 12 signs. It'll be a tarot reading. I should throw some tarot and go deeper with this card. So if you're interested in that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit the notification button. It should be coming out Wednesday. Okay, that's what I have for you, Sagittarius. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. Hello, Capricorn. The full moon for you is sitting over there in the 6th house. So there's a harvest there around in Gemini, around the themes of health, hard work, small animals, employers, employees. It can be a difficult house in ancient astrology. It's called the house of bad fortune and the joy of Mars. Okay. And the sun, obviously sitting opposite as part of this grand cross, is in your 12th house. And that's the house, Sagittarius. It's a house of the hidden, the things unseen. So it can be your unconsciousness. It can be hidden enemies. It can be all those things that are there in the dark. So we could look at our soul is in there, you know, we go to the 12th to find our soul. There's themes of isolation there, self-sabotage, and addiction can come in that house. So it's quite a difficult set of houses to have that opposition in. But you would have, at the new moon in Gemini, that would have been June 2024 on the long cycle, you would have seeded something there in your 6th house, perhaps to do with work, perhaps to take the pressure off of work, perhaps it was to do with your health, but there was definitely something seeded there. And this is now coming to fruition. So have a look at the details of what is happening around those themes I've spoken about, but also it's Gemini. So we're talking about self-expression, communication, what you're hearing. It's Mercury, the messages that are coming for you. And Mercury is sat up there in your 11th part of that Grand Water Trine. And Mercury is in your house of hopes and wishes, dreams. It's also the people behind the scenes, groups, friends, benefactors who support you in those things that you want to achieve out there in life, those beautiful goals that you have, Capricorn. But this opposition between the sun and the moon is going to bring that illumination. So if it's to do, the moon is a signification of both the mother, memory, and the body. So in the 6th house, if it is to do with your health, or there's been a hidden health problem that you haven't been able to, a sense of feeling fatigued, or you've had an illness that they can't quite diagnose or treat, this sun may be illumine what is hidden, and a diagnosis may come. It may be that the sun is illumining some self-sabotaging behavior that is adding to your health issues. That can be illumined there, or ways of working with your body, with your any health issues there. But allow the sun to illumine the big picture. It's a Jupiter, okay? So allow it to bring, like that judge, the big picture of what is hidden there, okay, of what may be causing you difficulty or bad fortune or distress, at not just your health, but also in your hard work. Your health may be suffering because you're working too hard, as simple as that. And allow that fruit that's come there to give you the details of what's fruited there. And as I say, Mercury is there. This moon is a harvest, also not a harvest, a fruition of the intentions you set the new moon 2 weeks ago, the new moon in Scorpio in that 11th house. So it's likely to be your hopes, dreams, wishes. Again, have a look. The 2 moon cycles are likely to be connected. Okay, so have a look for similarities of what may have fruited there with those intentions. What was going on in June 2024 that is showing a fruiting of something similar here in December. Okay, so look at that. Your other opposition is the nodes of fate, the nodes of the moon. You have the north node in your 3rd house, Pisces, and the south node in your 9th house, Virgo. You've also got the ruler of your house, Capricorn, sat here with the north node. It's co-present here. And he's just stationed direct. He's been in retrograded. He's retrograded back in here to redo and sort out and finish the foundations that he started putting in place there in your 3rd house. Pisces in, just looking at my dates. He first went there in March, beginning of March 2023, okay? He went into Aries, but he's come back there since. It's all these dates here. Mid-August it was, I think. Okay, he went back into Pisces and will be there until mid-February 2026. So have a look at the foundations, because this opposition here in this 3rd house, he's been laying foundations on your everyday life. So the fluctuations, it's the joy of the moon here, okay, the 3rd house. So it's what you're doing day to day, the change in ebb and flow of fortune and happenings in your everyday life, your local environment. It's the things in your mind that make you happy, bring you joy. It's part of the Grand Water Trine of Kama, Kama, which is what brings you pleasure, your 3rd, 7th and 11th, okay? So Saturn is here finishing this off. It can be to do with siblings and extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, but your local environment. And there's an opposition here. The North Node will be increase. There's an increase in those themes, okay? And I'm thinking with your ruler laying foundations there may be an increase in your activity or your work within the community, or new links forged here in your community. And then the South Node, which is a decrease, and it's in Virgo. It's a decrease here, and it's ruled by Mercury, same same planet that's ruling the new moon. Virgo is ruled by. And this is the house of God. It's the house of belief, faith, philosophy. It's the house of higher mind. It's the house of intellect, higher mind, intellect, higher learning. And this can be esoteric learning, astrology, alchemy, divination, magic. So that's sitting there in your 9th. So there is a decrease you may be having or letting go of former beliefs. I mean, for example, it could be that you're in formal religion and you've moved from that and you have a different belief and philosophy and faith on life. But there is a decrease happening, and it is in opposition, obviously, in this grand cross to your third house. But the ninth house will be more about the big picture, just as Sagittarius is. It'll be about that big picture, okay? The sun is that joy of the sun here, the house of God, and it's in a square. So there's some kind of tension going on there between Sagittarius and Mercury, Virgo. Virgo's ruled by Mercury, so it could be that you need to gain a bigger picture, a more solid picture on your beliefs and philosophies in life. This may have been changing from you. And here, Jupiter rules here, the North Node, so it's pushing again for this sense of big picture rather than details. Virgo is often about service, it's the Virgin, devotion. So maybe you need to let go of material things, it's an earth sign, in order to become more devoted to what your faith is, what your beliefs are, what the magic that you're doing if you're working within magic. Yeah, so there's that sense of letting go, but looking at the polarity of those things that are large, the large picture, and the smaller picture, the same as the sun and the moon. Okay, so your Grand Water Trine, because you had Mercury here, which rules this south node in Virgo and rules the moon. It's your Kama, K-A-M-A, the things, the relationships you were born to have. What brings you pleasure? That's your 11th, where all the Grand Water Trine has been activated from. Your 7th, relationships with an exalted Jupiter sitting there. So you must have good things happening about your relationships, fortune coming there. And your 3rd, where this North Node sits. So it could be this sense of having more pleasure, the things that you love in your life. And expelling those beliefs that tell you you're not really supposed to enjoy things that much. So if you've been stuck in any particular set of beliefs or philosophy, it may be that that's being expelled so that you can really fulfill those relationships and those things that bring you pleasure. Excuse me. So, and as I say, your house of relationships, you've got an exalted Jupiter, so who's there for a full year. So yeah, lots of work being done there, lots of fertility, lots of growth, lots of good fortune there for you. Okay, so that's what I have for you, Capricorn. I'm going to now pull you an alchemy card and we'll have a look at what that says for you. And wow, Capricorn, you have the card, the Golden Rose, which is part of the mysteries of the alchemy. And given the sun is illumined from the hidden house, your 12th house, yeah, I shall read this out. It's beautiful, and for me, it makes a lot of sense of what I've been talking about here. Okay, so the Golden Rose, it's the secret, the altar, and the gem. Okay, the rose has long been used as a symbolic image for the summation of alchemy. The outer petals representing the first 7 planets and operations, while the inner petals protect the revelations from unwelcome eyes. But what exactly resides at the centre of the Golden Rose? Alchemy tells us it's a secret, and it's meant to be kept as such. The rose spirals both inward and outward simultaneously. It offers beauty to the onlooking while concealing its inner chambers. This is the complex nature of the Golden Rose. It challenges the alchemists to reorientate their thinking, to devote their work to honouring the secret rather than attempting to become the master of it. Kneel at the altar of the unknown. Cherish the Golden Rose as it's a model of the self. More will be revealed. So there we are, Capricorn. That sun is definitely illuminating things there in your 12th house. About hidden parts of yourself. And over there in the 12th house, it can be so many things, okay? Right, that's what I have for you, Capricorn. I will be taking this card, the Golden Rose, and using it as a signifier for a tarot read for the full moon, and that will be up on Wednesday. I will throw some tarot to see if we can go deeper with the meaning of this Golden Rose and the astrology here. So if you want to have that, then if you're not already subscribed, subscribe and hit the notification bell. As I say, that should be up on the day of the full moon, which I think is Wednesday. All right, then. Bye-bye, Capricorn. Hello, Aquarius. So this new moon for you is in your 5th house, Gemini. Beautiful house. It's the joy of Venus, the house of good fortune. It's about creativity, children. It can be about the fun you have, romantic love, risk-taking, gambling's in there too, and also entrepreneurship. So you have the moon showing a harvest here for you, Aquarius. Something you seeded in the short term in your 10th house of career, public face, 2 weeks ago on the 20th of November. I will link the video up the top. It will be up the top of New Moon in Scorpio. But you planted seeds here, and it would be to do with your public face, your career, vocation, you know, how you are out in public. But the other thing that's going on, because of this Grand Trine, that 10th house Scorpio that's been activated since October, and this is the last activation by Mercury, is your outer houses, which comprise of your 2nd house, where the North Node and your ruling planet sits at the moment. And that's income, resources, everything you need to survive in this world, material. The 6th house of hard work here in Cancer, with Jupiter sat there, and of course your 10th house Scorpio with Mercury there and the other activations. So because you have those, I am thinking this full moon and what you seeded here has come to fruition. So I'm feeling this is more about your 5th house, about the entrepreneurship or about any risk taking you had in terms if you work with investment or you're a bit of a gambler. It may be that there's a fruition with that. And fruit that comes is not always edible. You know, so it depends what we planted there in the 10th house 2 weeks ago. It's also the fruit from a cycle where there was a new moon here in Gemini in June 2024. And it's the fruition of that. So cast your mind back if you can. What were you intending to do? This would have been your 5th house. I mean, it is a house of fertility. So, and the moon does represent the mother. So, you know, was it a child? Do you now have children? Yeah. Or were you talking about children and now you're near completion of bringing one into the world? It is about creativity, and the moon is the mother. So it could be about all those things, but there we are looking at this grand cross. So there is a tension between this 11th house and the 5th house. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, sat up there, as I said, in your 10th house of public face, vocation, career, where you shine out in the world, is ruling this, but it's often about the details. It's often about communication, the way you express yourself here. And there is some sort of opposition with this Jupiterian rules Sagittarius, sorry. Jupiter rules Sagittarius up here in your 11th. This hopes, dreams, wishes, and the people behind the scenes who are supporting you to achieve your goals there, climbing up to that 10th house, this, the 11th. So there is a tension somewhere between that collective support you have, your groups, friends, your hopes, your wishes, and actually what has fruited here. So look at those things, have a look to see, you know, what you need to get rid of, what you need to combine. You need the big picture. Maybe you need to take advice from more people to bring into your individual business. And that may be one thing. But look at those tensions there, because you've got an opportunity to amalgamate the two. Wherever there's that polarity, to amalgamate the details and the big picture together here under this full moon and in the weeks to follow as the moon wanes. Then your north, the reason I'm talking so much about money is your north node is in your second house of income in Pisces, resources, everything you need, and that resource can be you also. And the south node is in your 8th house, which can be quite a difficult house. It can be a house of loss, grief, but it is also a house of other people's money. So it can be legacy money in terms of wills. It can be insurance payments out, usually large bits of money, but it's other people's money. So it could be a benefactor who has invested in your entrepreneurial business, or you were hoping would and hasn't, because the south node is about letting go. It's about decrease for good or for bad. It's ruled by Mercury because it's in Virgo. So this could be about letting go of the details or bringing those details, or getting out of your head of details in terms of what you need to do and taking the advice of others, as I said, in business terms. And the north node is sat there with your ruler, and this is about increase for good or for bad. So there's something, it could be your income increasing here. So if you have been supported by other people's money, be that a benefactor, investors, or by benefits, or support from a partner, that is decreasing, and your independence here is increasing. Now, Saturn has your ruler. It's the traditional ruler. Saturn it's retrograded back. It's just recently gone direct, but retrograded back into your second house. It originally came there in March 2023 and has been digging a foundation. So maybe this is about Saturn digging an independent source of income. Okay. And this is what is increasing here. That is a possibility. You also have Pluto. I've put him there in your first house, a major transformation of the self, of your identity. Yeah. But the Grand Water Trine is in your outer houses. So I think this full moon does have a lot to do with business, entrepreneurship, because of this Grand Trine and because of this 5th, 11th, the benefactor and the business. Or it just could be support, someone supporting you. Maybe your mother's supporting you with your children more. Maybe you've gone out to work and become more independent than your mother, or another beautiful motherly figure is looking after your children. Okay, I shall leave it there, and I will now pull you an alchemy card to see what magic you can make, alchemical magic, to bring the large picture and the details together, and to bring the fruits and the illumination together. Okay, 1 minute and I'll pull you a card. So you got the colour yellowing. So it's about aging, transitioning, and a warning. These are mutable signs that this Grand Cross is in, so it is thresholds and transitions. So I'll read it for you. Indicating transition, the yellowing leads us into the next phase of our alchemical work. Envision the yellowing as pages of a beloved novel, or the ochre blanket of leaves in autumn. This colour seeps out to signify the beginning of the end, a return to zero. Even a deep bruise finds a yellow tint as it reaches its final phases of healing. In contrast, yellow can be the marker of a long-awaited growth, as seen in the first rays of sun and the cheer of forsythia. Oh yeah, that's beautiful, the yellow forsythia in February. Whatever its message, yellowing tells the truth. It leads us forward, like the vibrant canary in the mine, warning of what's to come. Take heed. The transition is here, whether by yoke or bile. That's lovely, isn't it? I'll say that again. The transition is here, whether by yoke or bile. How to respond is up to you. It's likely you already know. So have a reflection on that. apply it to the astrology and what I was saying at the beginning, and you'll have some fantastic reflections there. And if you're interested in going further in depth with this card, I will be doing a tarot reading with this card I've pulled for you, the yellowing, as a signifier, and we'll dig deeper into the card and the meaning of the card for you. If you're not subscribed, do it already. Do it. If you're not subscribed already, then subscribe and hit the notification bell. The reading should be there on Wednesday. That's what I have for you, Aquarius. Bye-bye. I'll see you on the next one. Hello, Pisces. So the full moon for you is sat there in your 4th house with the sun in your 10th. The North Node and the South Node are across your 1st and 7th. So the Grand Cross for you, as it is for all the mutable signs, is on your angles. So pretty impactful, has quite a pretty impactful effect, particularly if you've also got planets there. Okay. So the full moon in your 4th is your home, family, roots, foundations, your inner life, ancestors, the lineage that you built on. So there's a harvest that has come here. Now, you would set intentions for this full moon at 2 different points. The long cycle with the new moon in Gemini would have been on it was the 20th of June, 2024. It was June 2024. And there's fruit that's come from that around those themes of the 4th house with Gemini's flavour, lots of information, expression. So something has fruited there from that, but also you set your intentions for the cycle, this latest cycle that was the new moon in Scorpio. Now that is in your house of belief, faith. It's the house of God. It's religion. It's higher learning, philosophy, the esoteric arts, divination, astrology. So it's a very rich house. Now you set an intention there. It could have been to gain higher learning, to have a change in your life philosophy, in your beliefs. There's many intentions you could have set there consciously, and they may have been set unconsciously, but there's a fruition here. So something is showing through in your inner life, at your foundations, in your home, in your family. Something has fruited here, which is beneficial, which is fruit that you can take with you. But there'll also be some difficulties here that we need to kind of chop off and burn and compost, okay? But we also have this polarity, as we always do at the full moon, between your 10th house. This is your vocation, your work, your public life, where you shine. Yeah, it's at the top of the chart, okay? So it's where you're out in public versus your inner private life in the 4th. But there's this opposition between these two. They're opposite just in terms of public and private, but they're also opposite in that in the 10th house, there is a sense of a big picture. So to maintain our home and maintain our family, we often need a career and we need to go get that work to pay for what we need within our home. So there's an opposition there, but we can bring them together beautifully. There's a big picture and there are details. So it's what are the details of the fruit that you've borne there, okay, in those 2 cycles. Then Pisces, you have the North Node in your 1st house. So the 1st house is the helm. It's the joy of Mercury up there in your 9th. But it's also ruled by Jupiter, your Jupiterian Pisces, which is down there in the 5th and forms part of this Grand Water Trine, as does Saturn here. So your 1st, your 5th, and your 9th house, where Mercury is the ruler of this moon, is the house of Dharma. It's those questions of who am I and what am I here for? It's that sense of purpose, the purpose you're born for. So you have the North Node here, as well as Saturn. Now, Saturn's been here since 2023. It's retrograded back into Pisces to finish up the foundations that it's built. And that your Dharma starts with you. So Saturn's been doing something here. Could be to do with boundaries. It could be to do with your foundations. And, you know, we're talking about roots there. So this can be karmic patterns that you've carried. Your ruler is in the fifth. Home family, not home family, children. The children you had at home, yeah, your children, entrepreneurship, romantic love, risk-taking gambling, fun, etc. And Mercury there, bring in messages here. So the opposition here is in your seventh. Mercury ruled again here is your South Node. So yourself and your relationships. So there's increase here of you, your identity, maybe boundaries with Saturn there, that Saturn's been helping you to put in around yourself, you know, healthy boundaries, healthy discipline, you know, being disciplined about your self-care, about your body, about your mind, about who you are, your spiritual life, whatever. And here we have the South Node, which is a decrease, and it's in your house of relationship. So perhaps these changes that have been wrought here by Saturn in your house of Dharma and that have been flowing around the water houses since October, you've had to let relationships go. Relationships that with people who don't respect those boundaries. Maybe you're having to speak up to yourself, speak up for yourself. Maybe with actual family, home and family. Maybe with children. So that sense of letting go, letting it decrease, the South Node, expelling those things, or maybe just the behaviors in relationship. Your behaviors may have changed, their behaviors may have changed. So it's this sense of expelling and, you know, asserting yourself, Pisces. Pisces can be known for being, you know, hugely optimistic and hugely generous, and, you know, Pisces can forget the boundaries because they're oceanic. Okay, they can sacrifice too much of themselves. So I've got a sense that, you know, identity has been really solidified, brought into the material by Saturn. Okay. So these are the things I have. There will be work here to do throughout the rest of this cycle about, you know, between this polarity of self and other, relationship to self, relationship to other, and our relationships, and also between our public and private life, our work and our home and family. Could be karmic stuff. Seven can sometimes be the karmic cycles. So it may be working with ancestral karma that you are moving through. It could be karma from the mother with the moon here. Could be karma as in family karma with family health problems here, particularly maybe gynecological problems or problems with the body. The moon is the body, the feminine health here. Okay, I'm going to stop there or I'll drivel on for ages. Okay. So I am going to, Pisces, pull you an alchemical card so you can use that to work with these polarities to bring about your own alchemical wedding. Okay. You have got the uncreated. It is part of the mysteries of alchemy. So it's the unconceived, the seed of the seed. So it's beyond potential. It's created in some spiritual way, but it's not created in reality. So I'll read it to you. There was a time when everyone you know was not yet born, when every city was yet to be named, when your favourite song was yet to be sung. Such is the energy of the uncreated. This card indicates the subtle but profound force that summons all that will be into existence. This most sacred of formulas cannot be manufactured, contained, bought or sold. It's the pure intelligence of creation pulsing at the door of reality. Its timing is precise and it is happening now. Don't delay. Send an invitation to the uncreated. Allow it to formulate and gestate. Soon a sketch, a map, or a name will draw itself upon your mind. Envision and believe. The architecture of the future is within you. All ground is fertile. Life begets life. This is beautiful, Pisces. It's a beautiful card for you to have. It is the nodes of fate. It is on your angles, and you have been hit by that water trine very personally. So there's been some dissolution and purification going on for months. So know that something is there. Call on it. Okay, it's here now. It just needs to be brought into that hard reality. And you have Saturn in your first house, and we're talking the Dharma. Okay, I'll be quiet now. I will be doing a tarot read on the actual full moon on the 4th of December with this card as your signifier. I'm reading for each sign and the card they got from this astrology read. If you're interested in that, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell, and you'll get a message when it's arrived on YouTube. Okay, Pisces, I shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye.